Hi folks, this is Dina Pacwa of EmbodyTheSacred.net. I wanted to share a little bit of my story here today in the hopes that it might be helpful for some folks who are feeling stressed and overwhelmed with what's going on with the coronavirus and everything that's going on in our country and across the globe. And so I just wanted to share a little bit today. So this is some of my story. I often get questions about what led me to become a practitioner and teacher of contemporary shamanism and cross-cultural healing and energy medicine and Reiki, because I certainly didn't start off my adult career on this path, though I've been working in this field now for 22 years. Um, in my early career, I was an art director and graphic designer, and I continued to be a graphic designer for many years, even after shifting my focus over to the healing arts. Uh, but anyway, I didn't start off my high school or college career dreaming out about becoming, a contemporary shamanic practitioner or energy healer or any of that, because it's not a path that's very common in our Western society, even though the path of healing certainly is. But these ancient teachings and ancient ways are finding their ways back to us. So it's becoming more and more popular today to find the earth honoring traditions and to find a more spiritually focused path of healing. So this is just a little bit about what brought me to this work. So when I was a senior in college, I found out that I had cancer. I found out that I had malignant melanoma. And I was very, very lucky that it was found early enough. I did have to have pretty major surgery on my left calf. I had a big chunk of my left calf removed. But luckily enough, after all the tests were done, we found out that it was all removed and I was okay. So that was a huge relief, but also for a good month or two, I didn't know, what the status was and how serious it was, if it had spread to other parts of my body. I know people have died from it, so it was a lot for a 21-year-old to come facing death. So that was really, my first kind of really intense experience with that. So that affected me, and I was always really an anxious and sensitive kid. And growing up, I was very sensitive to other people's energy and emotions. I didn't really understand what that was about. I didn't understand the concept of being an empath at that point, but that I could really feel and sense other people's feelings and emotions, and I had a hard time separating them from my own. So that created a lot of issues for me. And I was very, very shy because I really just didn't understand other people very well, because they would speak and communicate certain things, and yet I would feel and sense something completely different coming from them. So I couldn't really trust a lot of people because of that. So I was very quiet, very shy, very sensitive to energy and other people's emotions, very anxious. And so, coming down with cancer was just this sort of loaded gun that pushed me through the next 8 to 10 years of dealing with a form of anxiety, depression, and obsessive compulsive disorder. And how it manifested was, it was in the late 80s and early 90s when the AIDS virus, the HIV, was just coming around and people were really scared about it. So I kind of absorbed some of that, and I became really fearful that I would somehow get that virus or I would come down with another form of cancer. So I was constantly going to get tested all the time for years, and I could never rest. I was always afraid they were going to find something and then I was going to die. So it was this like overwhelming dark cloud. I really couldn't stop going to these testing places or doctors or clinics, and I would go to different ones so they wouldn't know it was me coming back again. And it's like, we just tested you 3 weeks ago, and it's like my mind just would not rest. I just couldn't trust that I was okay. So it was like not feeling safe in the world, not feeling safe in your own body. It was very traumatic and it was very scary. And that was when I really started to explore and dive into the world of holistic health, because I, did see a therapist. I saw, multiple psychologists, psychiatrists. I tried medication and nothing helped. And I was really desperate. It was really a dark night of the soul in my mid 20s. So I started exploring the world of holistic health, and I started finding ways to feel better, to calm my anxiety, calm my fears, to start feeling okay and safe again. And some of those things that really helped me were finding food and nutrition that, sort of balanced my mind and body chemistry, because I also found that hormonal shifts really affected the OCD. And I find that to this day. I mean, today I don't have that, thank goodness, anymore. I do feel I am cured of the OCD. And even with everything that's going around today, I'm washing things down, but I'm really not worried or nervous about getting sick. I'm worried about my loved ones. I'm worried about friends and family and my community. But for myself, I'm really, fine and okay. But it took, quite a bit of work to get to that point. So, nutrition was helpful. Flower essences were amazing. And that's something I'm going to talk more about and share more about through classes that I teach and on my Facebook page and Instagram, etc. So flower essences were amazing. They're very gentle. There's no contraindications. So they're one of the few medicines that we can harness that will not cause harm. So they're really incredible and quite a gift from the Creator and from our Mother Earth. Yoga was very helpful for me, going through the anxiety. Having some kind of mind-body exercise. Meditation helped. Praying, I prayed a lot. And I was raised Catholic, so I had very strong faith, and I always had a very open mind to other traditions and religions. And when I was a freshman in college, I took a course on world religions, and we also traveled a lot. So I was very open to other traditions and other cultures. So that was kind of laying the groundwork for, eventually becoming a teacher. And I'm also an adjunct professor at Western Connecticut State University in Danbury, and I teach cross-cultural healing and I teach mind-body healing. So, going back over 25 years ago, I was laying the groundwork for this work that I would be doing today. But I didn't know that then. I just was dealing with my own struggles. So, this OCD anxiety disorder, I found holistic health and integrative medicine to really be the path that really saved me and started to calm the fears, calm the anxiety, and eventually helped me move into a better place. But I wasn't done yet. I still had another big life lesson and life-altering event that happened when I was 30, and this is back in 1997, and this was a near-fatal car accident. So this was probably the single most important and impactful, horrific and horrendous and yet amazing gift of my life. So I don't want to sugarcoat it and say it was, a bowl of cherries and a lot of fun, because it wasn't. It was really hard. It took a lot out of me, my parents, my former husband, and our family and friends. It was really difficult. So what happened was I was driving home from the movies, following my former husband home. We're on back roads, that whole story. 5 minutes from home, right? You hear these statistics, but it was true. And it was very dark, and these two cars were coming from the opposite direction. And before I knew it, one of them was trying to pass the car in front of them and came right into my lane and ended up hitting me at an impact speed of 85 miles an hour. And I was in a little Volkswagen Golf, and I had just a lap belt, not even a strap across my lap. I just had a shoulder strap, that was it. No airbags. So the whole front end of my car came in. I shattered both my femurs. I broke my rib cage. I collapsed both lungs and lacerated my liver. And in addition to, pretty major soft tissue injuries to my neck, to my back, and to my legs, and all of that. So I couldn't breathe. You know, when you collapse both your lungs, it's kind of difficult to breathe, but I couldn't breathe at all. And I I felt like I was given a choice whether I was going to live or die. And I thought about my parents, I thought about my former husband, and I thought about the work that I was doing, that I really hadn't helped enough people yet. And I thought, okay, I don't want to go yet. So I said, all right, God, you've got to help me because I can't do this by myself. And as soon as I said that prayer, as soon as I set that intention, I felt this energy come in. I didn't really have a language for energy back then. And I started breathing. Now, it took 20 minutes for EMTs to get to me. So I was breathing just enough to make it to our wonderful Danbury Hospital, where they took good care of me. I had the best doctors, the best nurses. I swear if God could have picked the best people to take care of me, he did. And they were fantastic. I can't thank them enough every single day. I'm grateful. Because I wouldn't be here without them. That's for sure. They saved my life. They put me back together. Some things you just don't forget, and it doesn't matter if it's been, over 20 years. So my gratitude to them is every single day. So they had to work pretty hard. I think I had over 8 or 9 hours of surgery the next day. I had to have tubes put in my lungs. I had to have my liver put back in the right spot and repaired and patched. And I had to have surgery on my legs where I had rods and screws put in both femurs. And I was in ICU for 8 days. And 5 days into it, started choking on the tube, on the ventilator tube. And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. I am not going to die choking on a fucking tube. That's not happening. So I pulled out the tubes, which I would not recommend. But it was my way of fighting, and I just fought really, really hard. And I prayed really hard, and I had a lot of good people praying for me. So that spiritual component was always there. And as a kid, I always felt a sensitivity to the spirit world. I could sense and feel spirits around me. And there really wasn't any kind of language for that in my family. So I just always assumed I was crazy, or I, was dreaming and I just imagining things. But as I've gone on, I've come to realize that no, there is a world of spirits and living energy, and it's all around us. And I'm sure there's plenty of people who don't believe that, and that's fine. Or it's not in alignment with their religion or spiritual practice, and that's fine too. They don't have to work with me or listen to me. There's plenty of other sources of comfort for them too. So anyway, so really difficult. And I was lucky enough, I got out of the hospital in 2.5 weeks, and I, had to do massive amounts of physical therapy. And my doctors weren't sure if I would ever walk again. And I can show you that I can walk just fine. Of course, I'm going to be standing in place here. I'm lifting up my knees, and I can move, and I can shake my groove thing, and everything's fine. But it did take a very long time to get there. And it took a lot of focus and strength and some really good helpers. And I also knew that I was going to need that background in holistic health to heal and recover. And that's, I think, really, what got me to where I am now was the combination of integrative medicine, the best of Western medicine, the best of holistic practices. So I incorporated nutrition, supplements, herbs, yoga, meditation, prayer, so many things, chiropractic, massage. I learned Reiki about a year after the accident, and I still had the rods and screws, or the rods still in my femurs. The screws were taken out before. And I had such miraculous results with Reiki. After the first class, it literally, all the feeling in my feet came back because I had some numbness in both feet from the damage to the nerves in my knees and legs. And then I also had a limp on my left side and was able to heal that from just learning level 1 Reiki. So that really was the turning point for me, from being in the corporate world and going through this life-changing experience and realizing, oh my God, there's really so much more to healing, and there's a lot that we can do for ourselves. And throughout my recovery, I was praying, I was connecting with angels and guides. I just felt this connection to them opening up. And I would visualize, I used like imagery to visualize my body healing. I just kind of knew what to do, or it just came to me. And I think I really opened up my intuition even more, going through that experience. So I just trusted it, I just followed it, and I just kept incorporating different techniques and tools. I wasn't thinking about changing careers, but the Reiki made such an impact on me that I just couldn't turn back. So I studied, the 3 levels of Reiki, which took me about 6 months to a year. But I did not feel like that was enough education to change my career to the healthcare field or the healing arts. And I know a lot of people, they feel comfortable after a weekend workshop and they'll just go out and hang a shingle. I have never been of that mindset. I have a great deal of respect for doctors and nurses and chiropractors and massage therapists and occupational therapists, physical therapists, and they have to go through a great deal of training, learning, education, certification, licensure. And I've always felt the same way, that holistic health should be held to the same standards. And after all these years of working with traditional healers and indigenous medicine people from different cultures, they go through rigorous training, sometimes life-threatening training for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. One of my teachers didn't come out to teach until he'd been doing his work for 45 years. So I've always felt that in the holistic field, that it was just as important to take the time to learn, to study, to practice, to learn about ethics and protocols, and even in shamanic work. So I think that's, really important, that we treat this work just as importantly as the other fields of medicine and healing. So I've always been of that mindset. So I knew that I wasn't going to leave the corporate world after just a year of Reiki training. As much as and as wonderful as it was, I was just working on friends and family at that time. So I decided to go to school for massage therapy, and I had an awesome experience with that. And I was a practicing massage therapist for 10 years, and I had a clinical practice. I worked in doctor's offices and hospitals. I became certified in medical massage. And at the same time, I still was opening up this other side of energy work and the spiritual side of healing, and working more with angelic energy and connecting with, these beings of light, because I really felt that strong force coming through me that was helping me heal through the accident was from the spiritual connection and faith. So that really felt very natural to me. So I was like working on that at the same time. And then one day I was just at the office, and I just got this feeling that I needed to work with a shaman. And I honestly didn't even know what that meant in our contemporary society. So this was like 17 or 18 years ago. And be it as it may, about a month later, a practicing shamanic practitioner or shaman showed up at the doorstep of where I was working. So after all these years of working with traditional healers and medicine people from different cultures, I also have very strong feelings about that title of shaman. And it comes from the Evenki tribal region of Siberia. It is a particular type of healing work. These shamans are chosen by the spirits, usually of their ancestors, and they perform healing work that's very specific to their tribes, and they have cultural practices that are very specific, ceremonies, offerings, and the way that they do their healing. Now, what's more universal is that they go into a trance state, which is not uncommon to other traditions across the globe and maybe our own ancestors, where they go into this altered state. We can go into this in a meditative state, where they go into the spirit world and they connect with their guides and angels and ancestors in the spirit world and do their healing in the spirit world. Or sometimes an ancestor will come back and take over their body and do healing work through them, kind of like a trance medium. But these shaman have culturally specific work that they do. And different tribes across the globe, whether Lakota or the Q'ero from Peru, they all have names and titles in their own languages for their healers, just like we have chiropractors and nutritionists and medical doctors and yoga teachers and Reiki practitioners. You know, we're all in the healing arts, but we all do different things. We all have different trainings and backgrounds. Same thing with traditional healers. And this idea of taking that title from this tribe has never sat well with me, and always felt like, to me, a form of cultural appropriation. And I really feel very strongly that it's something that we need to stop doing. And that's another crime against humanity, so to speak, is our just taking, you know, in Western culture, things that we think, you know, that we can just adopt because we feel like it, or after taking a weekend workshop. And I've just never been of that mindset. So with great respect, I do the work that I do, and you know, the work that I do now from the teachers that I've worked with for over 15 years, I do with their permission, and that's a whole other thing. But anyway, so I had met my first shaman, you know, about 17 or 18 years ago, and he introduced me to the healing traditions of the Andes. So their work really isn't shamanic in a way. It's more mystical because they connect with the spirit world, the world of living energies, this animistic world, which is very common to many traditions across the globe, is that everything is alive and contains spirit or an energy of the creator in it, this divine light, and that we have it within us, within everyone and everything, and that we're all connected. And we're all connected to nature and to the cosmos, to the stars, to the angels, all beings. We're all interconnected, and that we can work together to facilitate healing. So traditional healers have always had this spiritual foundation, and this is what I found in my own healing and recovery from the accident in particular, and even from the OCD, was that the spiritual is really the foundation. And this is what I address in my own healing work with people is, we can't do it by ourselves. It's too darn hard, too much. I would never have been able to heal that from that accident by myself. Of course, I had amazing practitioners, but that initial healing that allowed me to start breathing in the car came from the divine. It came from the creator. So I've always had that feeling of just surrender, like we have to surrender to these powers greater than ourselves that could help us facilitate healing. So that really opened the door for me to work with traditional healers from different cultures. I just felt this, you know, desire to connect with them, and I just said, "Okay, universe," you know. And I had a good friend who is an amazing astrologer, Alethea Hunt of Empowered Destiny, and she told me that my path in this life was meant to be a shamanic path, that it was the path of the wounded healer, you know, which many of us in the healing arts have that same destiny of learning from our own pain. And what we share with others is through that, you know, what we've learned through our own suffering. And it really puts you in a place of compassion because you understand what it's like to be in pain and to suffer. And if you hear any kind of background squeaking going on, that's our dog Lexi. So just so you know, I'm not ignoring her. She's freaking out because her daddy's outside. So anyway. So animals, I've always had a strong connection to animals. And, you know, when I was younger, I always actually felt more comfortable with animals than I did with most people because at least they were honest. So that has not ended for me. So I have a very strong connection to the animals and am very grateful for their presence, both in the physical worlds and in the spirit worlds. So they're great allies for us. All the beings of nature are really wonderful if we approach them with love and respect. So that really opened the door for me to work with traditional healers from different cultures, mainly from North and South America and from Tibet. So that Eastern, sort of Western connection. And I just really asked the universe, I said, if this is really, what you want me to do to, work with these ancient traditions, then show me who I'm supposed to work with. And they just started showing up. They literally were showing up minutes from my house. I didn't go, I have traveled, I have gone to see them here and there, but they really started, they were around here, here in Connecticut, like 15 minutes away from my house. Or friends would say, hey, I'm going to go see this teacher, blah, blah, blah. And it just all just happened very organically. It wasn't something that I went searching for. And, anything that I share really has been given, I've been given permission, and not just me. They teach a lot of people. So they really want these teachers from, especially the Andes of Peru, they really have gifted their teachings to humanity. So there's many of us out there who work with the Mesa work, which is it's basically a portable altar full of items and stones that are from places that are sacred to the individual person. And that, I believe they gifted us this framework of the Mesa so that we could reconnect with the sacredness of Mother Earth and the places that are meaningful to us, and also our own ancestors. So I also have my own ancestral traditions, the Celtic tradition, Southern Italian, Eastern European, Western Asia, which has, a shamanic connection there, and Northern Africa. Despite me being one of the, whitest chicks on the planet, and without makeup, I look like the Walking Dead. So anyway, I do what I do with, great respect, and never in place of these indigenous teachers who have, so much more wisdom and knowledge, and they never lost that sacred connection to the earth. We're just beginning to reclaim it, and I feel like I'm just beginning to get what they've been teaching for such a long time. So in this time of challenge, I really feel like, it's all about these same things that these traditional healers have been trying to share with us now for probably the last 50, 60, 70 years of reconnecting with our love and respect of nature and of the earth, and treating her much better than we have. The greed and the corruption in government and politics is really beyond extreme, and beyond takes advantage of many people. There's a huge dark side that we need to look at. In shamanistic practices, we always look at the dark side, and we focus mostly on our own dark side. So that's something, if we can all do some of that, take responsibility for our own garbage, our own crap, our own darkness, we can start to, move through the darkness around us. And that we need to work together. We need to work in community. We need to be in balance and sacred reciprocity in our relationships and with the earth. So this is what I, feel like, these teachers have come forward, that I was blessed and lucky enough to work with, that's what they've been trying to tell us all this time. And I think with this virus situation that more and more people are starting to get it now. And but just know that there is help, there is hope out there. There are some really good healing arts practitioners, but just use discernment, because this kind of thing can bring out the snake oil salesman just as much. So look for people that are really grounded in their work, that they are well trained, that they have a solid background, and many years of training, that they tell you who their teachers are, and all of that. Distance healing, a lot of folks, including myself, are offering distance healing and distant classes because of not being able to have that close contact. I much prefer doing my classes and sessions in person, but distance healing works. We know that prayer works, distance healing, energetic healing definitely works. Just use discernment, find the people that you resonate with, that you can trust, get referrals, check their backgrounds, all of that. And if I can be of any help or service, you can find me through embodythesacred.net. That's my website. It should be listed below so you can find it. Or if this is on my Facebook page, we have to put everything in all these different places. So I'm easy enough to find. Dina Pakwa, Embody the Sacred. Thank you so much for listening to my story, listening to a little bit of my sharing. And I will be, coming out of my cocooned because I much prefer to hide in plain sight, and I am very much an introvert. So this is also pushing me to get out there and share a little bit more of what I've learned over the last, it's been more, 22 years as a practitioner, but I've been studying holistic health out of dire necessity for the last probably 27 years. So there's a lot of good information out there. Don't lose faith, don't lose hope. Take care of your immune system. Find your local herbalists and nutritionists. They're really knowledgeable. We're very blessed here in the northwest corner of Connecticut. We have Twin Star Herbal Education, an herb shop nearby. We have Allison Burks over at New Morning. We have Barry over at Chamomile in Danbury. We have Nature's Temptations down in Ridgefield, and Dree, the nutritionist there. Find the good people in your area. They're around. This is what they're there for. They can give you the foods and the supplements, supplement guidance, and herbal remedies. Go to the people that know. Don't go for the Insta shamans and the Insta whatevers. Okay? Do your research, find the good people, and just try to stay calm. Take care of yourselves. I wish you all the best. Thank you.